Hello there, I'm Forge Tech, and I'm going to quickly go over some of the questions and other topics that I see with the basics of building an Icarus. Now, I'm going to quickly point this out. Icarus is a game that changes very quickly. As such, everything is subject to change. But as of the time of this video, it's close to accurate as I can get it. Now, the first big one is, should I use foundations or floors? It really depends on what you're building. If you're going to put down a lot of heavy stuff and you want to very quickly build, I personally use frames. It's a bit faster to run down. They're good structurally supporting. Like if I go to this, you can see that these are full on blue still. So basically anything you put on this, it's not going to crack from the weight. Whereas even fully supported, these are still green. They'll hold a ton of weight with pillars completely underneath them supporting them. But they still can, crack or break if you put too much in too small of an area. At the same time, they're much faster to produce and work a little bit better on slopes simply because of the fact that you can drive multiple pillars in. As you look over here, I've got these, it goes, I've got one in the ground and then three above, and it's still blew up this far. That means it would still hold full structural support. Now, I would recommend building really tall with them because, as you can see, this is now green as far as up you can get. Stone is a bit farther, but foundations are always structurally secure. I've not built it any taller than this because simply I don't think 90% of players are going to build that tall unless it's for a mission. And I think that's the tallest is 7 stories at this time. Now, I have built this here on pillars so you can see underneath it. I've put a pillar underneath each corner. This is a little bit cheaper to manufacture, and I'm using wood as a reference point because it's a little easier to see the blue and green on it. But if you were making this out of stone instead of a stone frame, it'd be a little bit cheaper to do it this way. And you'd be able to do it, it would hold basically for all intents and purposes the same amount. If you're trying to do it faster, like you want a quick build, you're going to have to build basically 2 pillars and 1 floor for each section, plus an additional 2. So you're looking at 3 items to construct instead of 1. So sometimes you might want to just go for the frame for speed. But switching over to walls, walls of most types hold up roughly the same amount of weight. But as you can see, this pillar is blue, this wall is not. The pillar going up the side will support the floor that it's attached to much better than just a wall by itself. In fact, when I tried to build a roof here, you see that's still green, but that's yellow. That's green. If I try to add something right here, it will break. But if I add right here, that would just shatter. In fact, probably if I built a floor right there, it would also, anything that was too heavy would just cause the floor to come crashing down. Which you don't want to see your brand new generator going through the floor and then your eye slowly twitching as you realize, I have to now build more things. If you want to go farther over, like you're building a bridge, flat floors do work. They actually work significantly farther, as you can see. Now, this is about the end of this area before it starts to go a little, starts to crack. Now, I have built a little door right here to show you what happens. You go from blue to green, yellow, this kind of middle orange, and then dark yellow, or dark orange. If I actually you look here closely, you can actually hear the cracking of it not being supported. You can see the cracks in the wood. This is actually 100 hit points. This is not damaged at all. If I walk to the end of it, however, the strain of my character standing here will eventually cause this to begin cracking even more and eventually come down. Now, but let's say you want to build an actual bridge or something like that. I got to go over there, we'll say. And I just don't want to keep running up and down this, area. Well, as you can see, my system is snapping to everything. Now, if I hit end, it unlocks, but all I gotta do is look back over. As you see, I gotta get pretty close to for it to matter. But once I've snapped to it, it really doesn't matter how far I get away. It's still snapped. Now, you always want to make sure your beam is above ground, because you can place down into the ground. Watch out for that. Once I've got it snapped, this is one of the things a lot of people don't realize. If you notice the way I turn my camera, if I aim right here at the tip of the thing, it puts it on the end. But if I aim back a bit to right before this, see how it's got the 3 lines on it? If I aim to the left of the line, I put it here, right. So, that's a good way to know it. If you have an issue, though, you sometimes just got to do this number, where you walk around to each side and then kind of move it along. Same thing goes for if I want to build up, I put it here, but if I want to do down, I actually will aim. You can see I'm actually to the right of it and below it. That would let me anchor into, so this is where I was saying that sometimes it's just easier to work with pillars, because if I had no land but something like this to work with, I could very quickly build a reinforced platform. Maybe I'm going up against a boss and I don't want to get it close to me. Maybe it's just, there's not a lot of good land, or a lot of polar bears, standard bears. Now, because I'm building on top of 2 blues, this becomes blue. This one now is blue. This is still green, though. But this went from orange to green by simply building a pillar up underneath it there. So that's a good way of reinforcing your floors, building up. Pillars do not take damage in most weathers, so they make actually pretty solid bridges to walk across. If you're a person who doesn't feel comfortable about walking with this, if you crouch down in stealth mode, it's almost impossible to fall off. I'm trying to walk. You can actually see the camera shake as it hits the edge. Now, I am going to warn you, sometimes in multiplayer it doesn't always register, so watch out. Now, as for doors and everything else, see, I'm actually going down on storm exposure. You always want to add a door. Sometimes right here in the entryway of a door will sometimes show up as not. But windows and everything like that, the materials don't matter. The actual window, like, shutter here, will not take damage. It is the wall around the window that matters. If this is concrete and this is wood, and the wood, even in a heavy storm, will not get damaged because it's the concrete wall. As for doors, they also won't take damage from wind. You do have to watch out about animals. Animals will sometimes try chewing through stuff, so you sometimes want to spend a little bit more upgrading that doorway. Now, this is one of the big ones. Do these count as roofs? Yes. Why do I want to use this roof other than this roof? One, aesthetic. Some people just like the standard roofs. Some people prefer the flat. The biggest, however, is snow. Snow will build up more on a flat surface than a slope surface. Now, I don't know if that's because it's actually thicker or this just holds more weight, but for whatever reason, this shape here will survive a snowstorm that will just absolutely shatter a building made out of a flat roof like this. So if you're doing stuff in the Arctic, always use a sloped roof. If you're doing something in the desert or forest, it's more of a personal choice. Now, with that, I hope this answered some questions. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave it in the comments. I will either answer it or try to go figure it out. And with that, I hope y'all have a good week.